I mean, what a card this week. UFC 267 at the top. You've got the World Championship fight at light heavyweight. Blachowicz, Glover Teixeira, the co-main event. It is for an interim championship, but Petr Yan and Corey Sandhagen. Also, I mean, the main card stacked. You got Islam Makhachev, Dan Hooker, Alexander Volkov versus Marcin Tybura. It's the return of Khamzat Chimaev taking on Jingliang. Magomed Ankalaev versus Volkan Oezdemir is a fight that no one's even talking about. It's a crazy 15-fight card on Fight Island, UFC 267 in Abu Dhabi. What a night of fights. I am so pumped for it this Saturday morning, I guess. Also, gonna recap last week's event just real quick because, I mean, hey, we went crazy on that card. Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, we got the main event right. Oh yeah, like exactly right, said Vettori by decision. We went 11-2-1 on the card. I was 10th in the Tapology leaderboard. I don't know if that means much, but I was. I mean, we had a great night. We got almost everything right. Grant Dawson had a draw. You had the Souza fight. I mean, Random Marcos looked pretty good, so we got that one wrong. The other fight we got wrong was Sungwoo Choi losing to Alex Caceres, but I said in my video, I was hoping Caceres won anyway. So, honestly, I had a great night watching the fights. Let's now get into this absolutely stacked card that is UFC 267. And folks, if you have not yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. This card's so good. You got a ranked fighter fighting on the first fight of the night. Nuts. Tygura Ulanbekov taking on Alan Nascimento, and they did Nascimento no favors coming into the UFC. So this is a guy in Alan Nascimento who has a fight on Dana White's Contender Series in 2018. He loses to Ralian Paiva. If you look back at that fight, Nascimento does outstrike Ralian Paiva. It's a close fight, split decision win for Paiva. The problem for that one, for Nascimento, he goes 1 for 10 in his takedown attempts in that one. Paiva does land one takedown, but Nascimento does outstrike Paiva in that fight, doesn't get the judges to go his way. And he's taking on a guy in Tygura Ulanbekov who looked good in his first fight in the UFC. Given it's only been one fight he has had in the UFC, but it's a win about a year ago against Bruno Silva. It's a very good win for Ulanbekov. He outstrikes Silva, he outwrestles Silva, but it was a really competitive fight if you do look at it. But again, Ulanbekov did pick up the win, and Bruno Silva's a guy, a lot of power. That guy can strike, that guy can grapple. He's looked really good since that loss to Ulanbekov, picking off wins against JP Bays and Victor Rodriguez. But yeah, Ulanbekov looked very good in the Bruno Silva fight, and it's tough because Nascimento's a guy who, again, had that close fight with Paiva, and we've seen what Ralian Paiva is capable of doing after that fight against Alan Nascimento. He had that fight against Skylar Phillips that he won, and yeah, Paiva was a good fighter. Nascimento since then didn't get a fight until late 2021, only 3 months ago. It was a local fight event, I believe in Brazil. He wins the fight by rear naked choke a minute into the fight, or 3 minutes into the fight. It's against a fighter who's 5-2. Not much you can put into it, but he does have something going into this first fight in the UFC, considering he took those 3 years off, of course, with COVID. I do believe he dealt with some injuries as well. He had a couple fights scheduled with Future. They all fell through. Now finally getting the shot in the UFC after picking up one win after going on the Contender Series. But Tygura Ulanbekov is a monster on the ground. I mean, this dude, his striking looks solid in the Bruno Silva fight to the point where it let Tygura Ulanbekov enter in takedown range. But I mean, Tygura Ulanbekov, a lot of submissions on the radar, 7 of them coming into this fight against Nascimento. Nascimento, one of these guys, again, who can get it done on the ground, but had that somewhat competitive fight. Striking with Paiva. Again, though, Nascimento is always trying to get the fight to the ground. He did go 1 for 10 on his takedowns against Paiva. If he can't take down Ulanbekov, might be trouble, but again, I think these guys are pretty even on the ground. You would give the slight advantage, of course, to Tygura Ulanbekov. I've seen this guy, fight Bruno Silva. He's been pretty good so far in the UFC, given it's only been one fight. But you got a guy, Nascimento, who we've seen be very competitive with a very good fighter, a ranked fighter in Ralian Paiva, and we know Nascimento's got a good ground game. This fight could go either way, but I really do like Tygura Ulanbekov to pull off the victory. I think it's a tough fight for Nascimento coming to the UFC. Again, he hasn't fought in 3 years. He does pick up that one win against a fighter who's 5-2. It's just a tough entry for Nascimento in the UFC, but I think this is a closer fight than the odds do reflect. I still, though, like Tygura Ulanbekov to win this fight, but again, I think it'll be competitive. I still like Ulanbekov, though, to win this one by decision. Another great fight. Damir Ismagulov taking on Magomed Mustafaev. We haven't seen Mustafaev in a while. His last fight was against Brad Riddell. It's a loss by split decision on the Felder Hooker card. And before that, for Mustafaev, he's knocking out Rafael Fiziev. I mean, no one does that. No one beats Fiziev, even though Bobby Green maybe should have won that fight. I don't know. But Mustafaev knocks out Rafael Fiziev, spinning back kick, finishes him in St. Petersburg, Russia in a minute on that Overeem and Oleinik card. Before that for Mustafaev, losing to Kevin Lee, beating Joe Proctor, and for that, picking up a win to start off his UFC career. The thing about Mustafaev's always been, though, can he pull the trigger? Because when Mustafaev pulls the trigger and he really goes for it, I mean, you saw what happened in the Fiziev fight. If this guy lands, tremendous finishes. We saw it in the Breyer-Dell fight. Mustafaev, the volume was low. He looked good in the first rounds. In the third round, Mustafaev wasn't throwing any output, and Breyer-Dell just took over late in that fight. So we'll see if Mustafaev can really come out there. If you're picking Mustafaev in this fight, you're thinking he can probably get rid of Ismagulov pretty quickly. That's probably where you're going. Because, again, Mustafaev, tremendous stand-up game. Ismagulov, tremendous stand-up game as well. The problem with Mustafaev early in his UFC career, I mean, when he ran into Kevin Lee, he got taken down like 5 times in that fight. Lee submitted him in the second round. But in the Breyer-Dell fight, you saw that's all Mustafaev did. Takedowns against Breyer-Dell. But again, it was the output and the volume late in that fight that did cost him the fight. He lost that one by split decision. But you got a guy here in Damir Ismagulov. He's 20-1. So far in the UFC, he is 4-0, picking up 4 straight wins. The first one being in Australia, won that one by decision. He beat Joel Alvarez by unanimous decision. He beat Thiago Moises, which, looking back at it, tremendous win. That one was in Shenzhen, China. Big win for Ismagulov, beating Thiago Moises by unanimous decision. Then after that, he beat Rafael Alves. Now, again, it wasn't an easy fight at all for Alves. Alves was coming off that big weight miss. I believe it was against Pat Sabatini, if I'm not mistaken. Ismagulov did what he needed to do. He won that one by unanimous decision. He was a minus 550 favorite for a reason. He outstruck Rafael Alves in that fight. He got takedowns in that fight. He showed everything he needed to show going into that one. So Ismagulov, again, he's been showing the wrestling. He's been showing the striking. Same can be said about Mustafaev. The problem is we haven't seen Mustafaev since that card over in Auckland, which was February of 2020. His wrestling looked good against Riddell. On the feet, though, he did get outstruck. Riddell did knock down Mustafaev, by the way, in that fight as well. I think this is going to be a good fight. I think really, though, the only way Mustafaev can win this one is if he does land a big shot on Damir Ismagulov, for being real. I think Mustafaev, if he's going to win this fight, it's going to be like the Fiziev fight. He's going to land some bomb, and it's going to be shocking, and it's probably going to be on SportsCenter. If it's not that, I really don't think he's going to win this one. Again, Mustafaev's wrestling is offensive wrestling. Solid defensive wrestling is terrible. If Ismagulov can land the takedown early, and if he keep the fight standing, he's going to win this one. If Ismagulov can control where this fight is taking place, it's going to be all Ismagulov in this one. This is the reason he's 20-1. He looked very good in the Moises fight. He looked very good. He looked very good in the Rafael Alves fight as well. I think this is going to be all Damir Ismagulov. Again, he did get knocked down the Alves fight. I'm not too concerned about it. It was a big shot by Alves. Alves does have a lot of power. I like Damir Ismagulov to beat Magomed Mustafaev. I'm going Ismagulov to win this one by decision. It should be a war on the feet. But again, we're going with Ismagulov to win this one by decision. Now we're going to fight at 185. It will be Andre Petroski taking on Hu Yaozong. And for Yaozong, it's going to be his third fight in the UFC. He was supposed to fight Alen Amedovski actually twice. That fight just got canceled, so Petroski is stepping in on somewhat short notice. But for Hu Yaozong, his first fight in the UFC, it's a loss to Cyril Asker. It's a fight in 2017. It's his first fight. He's 3-0 going in that one. He takes the fight at heavyweight. Now, Cyril Asker does what he needs to do in that one. The problem for Hu Yaozong in that fight is just he couldn't stuff the takedown. Asker landing a bunch of takedowns in that fight. Eventually, he finished Hu Yaozong in the second round. That fight was in China on the Bisbing Gaslam card. Good win for Asker against a guy who really shouldn't be fighting 265. So after that, Hu Yaozong, a year later, comes back on the next China card. It is going to be Blades and Ngannou 2. He fights Rashad Coulter. It's a competitive fight. It's a good fight on the feet. It's basically just a boxing fight the entire way. Coulter gets the win, though. He does knock down Hu Yaozong in that one as well, but of course Coulter does get the win. It's a competitive fight, don't get me wrong, but Coulter wins that one. That one's at light heavyweight. So now Hu Yaozong, 3 years later, is coming down to 185 to take on a fighter in Andre Petroski, who's coming off that win over Michael the Gentleman Gilmore on that Ultimate Fighter finale show, which was only 2 months ago. And was it a good win for Petroski? Sure it was. Landed the takedowns consistently in that fight. It was what Petroski and what we thought Petroski was going to do in that fight. I wasn't overly impressed in Michael Gilmore. Wasn't impressed with Gilmore's performance in the Ultimate Fighter as well, fighting Gilbert Urbina. He stepped in on short notice. Urbina took him down right away and submitted him. I thought that's what Petroski was going to do as well. What did Petroski do? He took him down and he finished him on the ground. So it's what Petroski needed to do against a fighter, again, who isn't the most impressive, in my opinion, in Michael Gilmore. So Petroski in the Ultimate Fighter, again, he beat Aaron Phillips. He submitted him. He lost to Brian Battle in the second round, the eventual winner. But the game plan for this one's pretty simple for Andre Petroski. It's you gotta take down Yaozong. And for Yaozong, you gotta keep this one on the feet because Petroski's striking is not very good. I mean, you saw Brian Battle hanging in pretty well with Petroski on the feet. I don't think Yaozong is going to threaten Petroski off his back like Brian Battle was doing. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think it's going to be the offensive wrestling from Andre Petroski that's going to win him this fight if he's going to win this one. And for Yaozong, he's got to be keeping this one on the feet and outboxing Petroski. Similar to what he did in the Coulter fight. Again, he didn't win that one, but that's similar game plan. Now, I think Andre Petroski is going to win this fight. I just think Petroski, the wrestling is going to be too much in this one for Yaozong. You saw them in the Gilmore fight. And again, is Michael Gilmore the best fighter? Maybe not. But you saw him land a takedown against Aaron Phillips. You saw him land the takedown against Brian Battle. And again, Battle ended up getting the submission off of his back. Okay, correction. It was coming off a takedown, but still. I just don't think Yaozong is going to threaten the neck on the takedown so that Petroski is going to attempt. I don't see that. I mean, again, Yaozong is a fighter who's only had 5 pro fights. He hasn't fought in 3 years. Kind of concerning. Petroski has been somewhat active with the Ultimate Fighter and with LFA. Yeah, I like Andre Petroski to beat Yaozong. I think he'll actually get a stoppage in this one. I think the consistent takedowns from Petroski and the eventual ground pound. Again, I thought he probably should have got Gilmore out of there earlier than the 3rd round. I think he will against Yaozong. I'm gonna go 2nd round TKO finish for Petroski, working that ground pound on the ground. Andre Petroski winning this one, 2nd round TKO. Now we have got Makwan Amirkhani and Lerone Murphy. Should be a good one contested at 145 pounds. We'll start first here, though, with Makwan Amirkhani coming off that loss to Camuela Kirk. It's a fight where Amirkhani did land the takedowns where he needed to, just couldn't get the output on the feet, and I mean, that's been really what's killed Amirkhani so far in the UFC. Camuela Kirk looked very good on the feet against Amirkhani, and Camuela Kirk ended up winning that one by unanimous decision. Amirkhani just couldn't keep ground control on the ground. You got the fight before that against Edson Barbosa. Now, Amirkhani does land the takedowns in that one, but I mean, you got Barbosa, a couple knockdowns in that fight, outstruck Amirkhani. You can't get the win in that one. And before that, he fought Danny Henry as a fight where he took him down, got the, I think it was Anaconda, submitted Henry early in the fight. Good one for Amirkhani. Before that, losing to Shane Burgos. I mean, Burgos just touched that dude up. Nothing Amirkhani could do. Landed a couple takedowns, but Shane Burgos ran right through him. And then before that, you got the win over Chris Fishgold. You got the win over Jason Knight. You got the loss to Arnold Allen. And yeah, you got a lot of fights on the UFC record for Amirkhani, making his UFC debut on UFC on Fox 14 in January of 2015, Stockholm, Sweden, on that Gustafsson versus Anthony Rumble Johnson card. Amirkhani on that card, picking up that 8-second knockout that I believe pretty much everyone's seen on all those UFC fastest knockouts clips. So yeah, Amirkhani coming to this fight with a record of 16 wins and 6 losses. His opponent in this one, Lerone Murphy, coming to this fight with a record of 10 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. Last time we saw Lerone Murphy was on Fight Island. It was in January of this year, beating Douglas Silva de Andrade by unanimous decision, and it was a good one for Murphy. Now, I'll be honest, I picked Douglas Silva de Andrade to win that fight, but Lerone Murphy when he needed the takedown, he got it. When he needed to stuff a takedown from Douglas Silva de Andrade, he did so as well, winning that fight by unanimous decision. His striking looked very good as well. And yeah, it was a good performance for Lerone Murphy. And before that, he knocked out Ricardo Hamas in about 4 minutes, winning the performance of the night bonus in the process. And then before that, he had that draw against Zubaira Tukhugov, who we're going to talk about in just a couple minutes here on this video. But Lerone Murphy's looked very impressive so far in his UFC run. His striking's look very good. His grappling, when he's needed to go to the ground, has looked good as well. Don't forget, he did get a takedown against Ramos. He did get a takedown against Douglas Silva de Andrade. But again, I don't think he's going to be wanting to engage in a ground fight against Makwan Amirkhani. Probably not where he's going to want to go, considering Amirkhani is pretty solid off his back and his grappling is very good. So, how does Lerone Murphy win this fight? It's simple. You keep this one on the feet as Amirkhani win this one. You take it to the ground because I just don't think Amirkhani can hang on the feet with Lerone Murphy. Now, it's been the problem in his last 2 fights. He has been able to secure the takedown against Camuela Kirk. He did it against Edson Barbosa. Did he have much ground control time? He did not, but he's been able to land the takedowns. If Makwan Amirkhani can land a takedown against Lerone Murphy and keep him down there, he's going to win the fight, because that's something I'm not concerned about. I think Makwan Amirkhani will land a takedown at some point in this fight against Lerone Murphy. Douglas Silva de Andrade landed a takedown against Lerone Murphy, so I think Makwan Amirkhani can probably do the same. It's going to be, can Amirkhani keep this fight on the ground? Can he keep ground control? And can he work for a submission, or can he work for his ground and pound against Lerone Murphy? I don't think he can. I think Murphy's going to be able to get up, and I don't really see too much of a threat that Makwan Amirkhani will pose against Lerone Murphy on the ground. I think Murphy is going to be able to get out of some situations on the ground against Makwan Amirkhani. And again, pure grappler standpoint, sure, Amirkhani is better than Murphy on the ground, but overall, I think Murphy's going to be able to get up. I think he's going to be able to get back to his feet. And after Amirkhani spends all that time and spends all that energy getting the fight to the ground, I think Murphy's going to get back up and he's going to touch him up on the feet. So I like Leroy Murphy to win this one. I think he will outstrike Mach 1 Amirkhani after stuffing a couple takedowns and getting up after some of those takedowns that Amirkhani will land throughout the fight. But I like Leroy Murphy to beat Mach 1 Amirkhani. I think he will get the win by decision. I think it's going to be a good performance, though, for Murphy in his second outing in 2021. It is the return of Shamil Gamzatov taking on Michael Oleksiejczuk. And for Michael Oleksiejczuk, picking up a win over Modestas Bukauskas in his last fight. Very competitive fight. A lot of people thought Bukauskas won that one, but Oleksiejczuk picking up the win by split decision. Now, since then, Bukauskas has been cut by the UFC, unfortunately. Don't know why they did that, but Oleksiejczuk picking up the win by split decision in that one, coming off of 2 straight losses to Ovince St. Preux and to Jimmy Crute before that fight, both by submission, the OSP fight by Von Flue and the Jimmy Crute fight by Kimura. Before that, for Oleksiejczuk, picking up a win over Khalil Roundtree Jr. That fight was overturned, though, and then he beat Jan Vellante in about 90 seconds, and then he beat Antigulov by 45 seconds. Knocked them both out. So Oleksiejczuk's striking has looked good. He's got the power. We know that. Now, his ground game is not very good. Gamzatov's ground game is solid, but in his last fight in the UFC and his only fight in the UFC was back in 2019. He beats Kilson Abreu. Now, I wasn't all that impressed in that performance from Gamzatov. He wins it by split decision. He gets the win, sure. He outstrikes Abreu in that fight, which is what you want to see. On the ground, though, Abreu does take him down, given it was only once in that fight. I think it was in the second, but what Abreu does do well, solid in that fight, he controls him in the clinch in that third round. And Abreu, I mean, I believe some of the judges gave him that third round. That's why it was a split decision. But Gamzatov wins. Sure, his striking looks good in that one, but what Gamzatov can do in the Oleksiejczuk fight that he might have been scared of doing in the Abreu fight is try to take Oleksiejczuk down, because Oleksiejczuk's ground game, not very good. Given he got submitted by 2 solid ground fighters in Jimmy Crute, who's a top 10 guy, and Ovince St. Preux, who is a former title challenger, but Gamzatov is a 14-0 fighter. He is undefeated coming in this one. He's got 5 submissions to his name, 5 knockouts to his name. Now, given he hasn't gotten a finish since World Series of Fighting 27 in 2016, winning by TKO, didn't pick up a finish in the PFL season, didn't pick up a finish when he did, I believe, he only fought once in ACB, but still, he hasn't gotten a finish since 2016. I think the pathway to victory is there, obviously, through the takedown against Oleksiejczuk. Jimmy Crute landed 8 takedowns against Michael Oleksiejczuk in the 3 minutes that fight did last. Not good. And basically that was the entire fight that Oleksiejczuk did have against Jimmy Crute. He was staring up against the lights because Crute kept landing those takedowns against him. So I think that's the big, if Gamzatov is going to win this one, it's going to be for the ground game. On the feet, I think these guys are pretty evenly matched. I do like Oleksiejczuk striking. I think it's pretty solid. Bukauskas fight looked good. Again, they kind of exchanged strikes throughout the entire fight, but still Oleksiejczuk striking is good. His power is always going to be there. So I think for Gamzatov, again, it's going to be through the ground. I think it's going to be, incorporating his wrestling with his striking, and I think that's what Gamzatov is going to do. And I think that's how he's going to beat Michael Oleksiejczuk. Again, I think it'll be the mix of the striking and the ground game that is going to win this fight for Gamzatov. I don't think he will get a finish over a very good fighter and Michael Oleksiejczuk. I think Gamzatov wins this one by decision. And yeah, I think it should be competitive, but I think Shamil Gamzatov continues his undefeated streak so far. I think he'll move to 15-0 with this win. Interesting one now between Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos and Benoit Saint-Denis. We've got Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos taking this fight against Denis, and he's coming off that loss to Muslim Salikov, UFC 251. It's a split decision fight. Salikov does pick up the win. It's a pretty evenly matched fight, though. Again, one judge had it for Dos Santos, two had it for Salikov. Before that, for Zaleski dos Santos, picking up a win over Alexei Kuchenko, wins that one by unanimous decision, outstruck Kuchenko on that one, and got the takedowns against him as well. Before that, for Dos Santos, losing a fight against Li Jingliang. There's a reason Li Jingliang is fighting Hamza Chimaev in this card. It's because he's very good. He beat Kurs Melander. Before that, he subbed him by rear naked choke. He knocked out Luigi Venturini. He beat Sean Strickland, knocked him out. And he beat Max Griffin as well, beat Lehman Gunn. I mean, Zaleski dos Santos got a lot of big wins in the UFC. He had that win over Omari Akhmedov as well, where Akhmedov is controlling him on the ground, but Zaleski dos Santos gets up, he lands that big flying knee, and he wins the fight. I mean, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos does some crazy stuff in the octagon. Or it wasn't the flying knee against Akhmedov, but it wasn't a knee that did finish the fight. But Zaleski dos Santos is going to throw so much crazy stuff in the octagon. He throws that big front kick that lands on Sean Strickland. It's the hook kick on Strickland that landed and ended the fight. It's the flying knee against Vettori. It's the stuff that Zaleski dos Santos will throw that is crazy. But he's taking on a guy in Benoit Saint-Denis who's not going to engage in that. I mean, this is a pretty obvious clash in styles fight because of Benoit Saint-Denis, a UFC newcomer coming over from Brave. He just won a fight 2 months ago with Brave. If he tries to stand with Dos Santos, he's going to lose the fight. That simple. Now, if he can land the takedown and he can land it effectively, that's his pathway to victory. You saw Jingliang. He was able to land takedowns against Zaleski dos Santos. Given it was in August of 2019, it was a while ago, but that's how Jingliang, the takedown set up his strikes, and he won the fight. He finished him late in that third round. Omari Akhmedov did the same. He landed 3 takedowns against Dos Santos. It was in 2016. And Keita Nakamura did the same back in 2016. Dos Santos, though, outstruck Nakamura in that fight and ended up winning the fight. That's how Benoit Saint-Denis has got to win this one. It's got to be on the ground because on the feet, okay, Benoit Saint-Denis, he's a solid fighter, but him and Dos Santos has got so much more power. The striking is more crisp out of Dos Santos, and I don't think Saint-Denis has got a shot on the feet against a very good striker. So it's simple. Do you think Dos Santos can keep this fight standing and can he outstrike Benoit Saint-Denis? Or can Benoit Saint-Denis go in there, close the distance, land that big takedown, and end up either subbing Zaleski dos Santos or controlling him on the ground and winning a decision? I don't think so. I mean, Zaleski dos Santos has been fighting the UFC since May of 2015. He's had so many fights in the promotion. I don't want to pick Benoit Saint-Denis, a guy coming in for his first fight, given I believe the man is undefeated. Yes, he's 8-0 coming into this one. That's huge, but I'm not going to bank on Benoit Saint-Denis coming in there, landing a couple takedowns, and, you know, the only way that I think Saint-Denis is going to win this one is through the ground game. I don't want to bank on that. I think the stand-up game from Zaleski dos Santos is going to win this one for him pretty handedly. I'm going to Santos to win this one. I think he's going to get a finish against Benoit Saint-Denis because, again, if Saint-Denis cannot get this one to the mat, he's going to have some trouble on the feet, and I think that trouble he will have. I'm going to Zaleski dos Santos to knock out Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he gets it done highlight reel fashion. Give it to him in the first round by KO. Now we've got Albert Duraev taking on Roman Kopylov, and Duraev coming off that big win on the Contender Series. The fight only lasted 3 minutes, getting the fight immediately to the ground and sinking in that neck crank to win the fight. That was about a month ago. It was in September, and now he's back taking on Roman Kopylov. This fight was supposed to be Duraev versus Alessio Di Chirico. Di Chirico had to pull out the fight, so now we get Kopylov instead. And this is a fighter, Roman Kopylov, who was supposed to fight Eric Spicely, supposed to fight Tom Breese, he's supposed to fight Sam Alvey. None of those fights could happen. Kopylov had trouble with his visa, coronavirus, of course. Now he's getting the fight against Duraev, but he did take on Carl Roberson back in 2019. He lost the fight by rear naked choke in the third round. Roberson was looking good on the feet. Eventually in the third round, landed a takedown, ended up sinking in that rear naked choke against Kopylov and winning the fight. So Kopylov only with one fight under his belt in the UFC, and for Duraev, again, getting that first win on the Contender. He fought an ACB beforehand. Again, it was 3 years in between the ACB championship win and eventually fighting on the Contender as well. The last time he defended his ACB championship, he won the title back in 2017, defended it once, then went to the Contender and won. But that was 3 years apart from the ACB championship when the time he defended the ACB championship and then when he won on the Contender Series. But, I mean, Duraev looked great in that fight. His wrestling looked good in that one takedown that he did land. Eventually, again, sunk in that neck crank. It only took him about 3 minutes on the ground. He immediately got in that takedown, and it was quick. He got the takedown, and he sunk in that neck crank and finished the fight. I mean, it's kind of similar to how Kopylov lost his fight. I know Kopylov went 3 rounds with Roberson, then Roberson eventually got the finish in the third round. But if you're having trouble with Carl Roberson, that's no slight on Carl Roberson. Roberson's a good fighter, but if you're having trouble with Roberson, and I haven't seen Kopylov fight yet, since then, no one has because he hasn't fought. Like, you're going to have trouble with Duraev, because Duraev is a very, I wouldn't say he's a better version of Roberson, just because I haven't seen Duraev fight those UFC level guys, because again, we've seen Roberson there with a Marvin Vettori who just beat Paulo Costa on Saturday night. But Duraev, his wrestling is good. Don't get me wrong, his striking is getting better too. Some of his fights in ACB, his striking looks solid, but again, he's always trying to get the fight to the ground. He's always trying to land that takedown and put his opponents down to the mat. if Kopylov's struggling with Roberson, I think he's going to struggle with Duraev as well. I think Duraev's going to be able to close the distance, use his striking to get inside, eventually land that takedown or land that trip in the clinch. He's going to get this one on the ground. I like Duraev to win this one. I think this is one of the easier calls in this card. I really think it is. Duraev is a damn machine, and I like Albert Duraev to win this one. I think he gets it done pretty early. I think he'll get it done by submission. I'm going to go first round. I think it's going to be a quick night in the office for Albert Duraev in his first fight in the UFC, beating Roman Kopylov by first round submission. Now we have got Zubair Tukhugov taking on Ricardo Ramos. And for Ramos, last win, picking up a win over Bill Algio's last fight in the UFC. And for Tukhugov, I mean, we haven't seen this guy in over a year. He fought Hakeem Dawodu. It's a split decision fight. I don't know how that was a split decision. I thought Dawodu won that one. I believe I picked Dawodu going into that one. Dawodu picking up the win by split decision. He outstruck Zubair Tukhugov in that one. Yes, Tukhugov does land that takedown, but if Tukhugov can't consistently land that takedown against his opponent, he's probably not going to win the fight unless he can score that big knockout early in the fight or, you know, use his big power, because this is what Tukhugov has. He's got a lot of power on the feet. You saw them the knockout over Kevin Aguilar. You saw the knockout over Ernest Chavez in Sweden in 2014. The guy's been fighting the UFC since 2014, so he's been here for a while. But Tukhugov has a lot of power. But unless he lands that big shot early in the fight, it's going to be the wrestling that he's going to have to go back to. And if he doesn't get his wrestling going, he's going to lose the fight. You saw that in the Dawodu fight. In the third round, Hakeem Dawodu is talking to Tukhugov in the fight. You know, he's outstriking him throughout that third round. It was pretty dominant towards the end for Dawodu. I don't know how that fight was a split decision, but still, again, Tukhugov's always going to need that takedown. Now, Ricardo Ramos is a guy, though. His last fight against Bill Algio, that's how he won the fight. It was centered around that takedown. Yes, Ricardo Ramos did have his moments on the feet, but it was the 8 takedowns that he did land against Algio that did win him the fight. You go look at the numbers on that one. He was 8 for 13, on his takedown attempts. In that fight, he was coming off that loss to Leron Murphy where he got knocked down in the first round. He beat Eduardo Garagori before that by rear naked choke. He won a unanimous decision over Drew Newson. Looked good in that one. His striking looked better. His takedowns looked good because he was coming off that loss to Said Nurmagomedov where he got spinning back kicked in the face. He beat Kyung-Ho Kyung by split decision. He spinning back elbowed Ayman Zahabi. Looked very good in that one. His wrestling looked good in that one too. Before that, he picked up one in his UFC debut. So you got two guys who honestly I think they match up pretty well against each other, because honestly, if Ramos doesn't get the fight to the ground, if Ramos can't land the takedowns, it's always, okay, I gotta land that big power shot to win the fight. It's the win over Ayman Zahabi, and I know that was in the third round. He was in control of that fight. He was getting the takedowns in that one, but it's the big power that Ramos does have. Same thing can be said about Tukhugov. And both these guys, yes, they have good wrestling. Ramos' jiu-jitsu's good. He's got 7 wins by submission. Tukhugov, given only has 1, but what Tukhugov does on the ground, again, it's that mauling style. He'll get the fight in the ground. He'll work his ground and pound really well, and he'll really just, tire out his opponents. So that's what Tukhugov's looking to do. Ramos, when he gets to the ground, always looking for that submission over position. And that's what we did in the Algio fight. Again, he controlled Algio on the ground, though. Still looking for some submissions in that one. Couldn't get the fight, or couldn't finish the fight, but still looked good in the Algio one. Ramos is 15-3 coming to this one. Tukhugov is 19-5-1. On the feet, I think this one's pretty evenly matched. Honestly, I think it is. I think Ramos, technically wise, might be the better striker than Tukhugov. Power wise, it's all Zubair Tukhugov, though. I mean, Zubair Tukhugov, his power is tremendous in the feet. Again, his striking, though, maybe it's because he fought Dawodu in his last fight. He didn't look good striking against Dawodu. That might be why I'm a little bit down on Tukhugov, but don't forget how good Hakeem Dawodu really is. That man's a monster on the feet. I mean, really, I know he lost to Mustafaev Evloev in his last one, but Dawodu, watch out for that guy. That guy's still going to be solid in the UFC. So maybe that's why I'm down Tukhugov. All around, though, he should beat Ricardo Ramos. I don't think he's going to lose this one. I think the wrestling's going to be huge. I don't think Ramos is going to be threatening Tukhugov that much off of his back after Tukhugov just land that takedown, because I think it boils down to this. If Tukhugov can land the takedown, I think he's going to be able to win the fight against Ramos. Given Ramos is a pretty good takedown defense, 73% takedown defense so far in the UFC. Tukhugov, though, he's going to keep going for it. If he doesn't get it the first time, he's going to try for a second. If he doesn't get it there, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And again, if he doesn't land the takedown, I like the striking out of Tukhugov as well. Now, again, there are pathway to victories for Ramos to win this one, but it doesn't start on the ground because you're not taking down Zubair or Tukhugov. It's just not happening. Tukhugov has not been taken down so far in the UFC, given guys won't try takedowns much on Tukhugov, but he hasn't been taken down yet. Ramos isn't going to try, and if he does, I don't think he's going to be able to land. So the only way Ramos wins on the ground is if Tukhugov takes him down, and Ramos threatens off his back. I don't think that happens. So when it boils down to all that, how does Ramos win the fight, or what is his only opportunity to win this fight? Is through the striking. I'm not banking on that. Tukhugov has so many more ways to win than Ricardo Ramos does. Give me Zubair Tukhugov to beat Ricardo Ramos. I think he gets it done by decision. It's the striking, it's the wrestling. It all adds up to a Zubair Tukhugov decision win over Ricardo Ramos. Rounding out the prelims, we have got Vina Jandiroba taking on Amanda Ribas. And for Amanda Ribas, coming off that fight where she did lose to Marina Rodriguez, but Marina Rodriguez since then, I mean, she goes on, she beats Michelle Watterson, she beats Mackenzie Dern. Marina Rodriguez is probably a fight away from the belt, most likely. I think she's going to be fighting Joanna next, but yeah, Ribas is still solid. She lost that fight to Rodriguez, but that's alright. She came into the UFC with the win over Emily Whitmire, winning that fight by rear naked choke. Then she beat Mackenzie Dern, beat Randa Marcos, and then beat Paige Van Zandt after that as well. Yes, the Mackenzie Dern win is huge looking back at it now. That was a fight, though. Dern was coming back I think she was only coming back like 6 months after giving birth. It wasn't 6, but I mean, it was a short period afterwards, and Mackenzie didn't do anything in that fight. She went 0 for 6 in her takedowns. Ribas kept the fight on the feet. She got 2 takedowns as well, and it was pure domination from Amanda Ribas in that fight, and that, I mean, kind of compares relatively to what this fight with Vina Jandiroba is going to be. Now, yes, Vina Jandiroba did fight Mackenzie Dern just 2 fights ago. She lost that one by unanimous decision. It was a fight where the fight really just didn't get going on the ground. Jandiroba, I believe, landed 1 takedown on Dern, but the fight got right back up afterwards because Jandiroba did not want to be on top against such a good jiu-jitsu practitioner in Dern. So it was a striking fight, and Mackenzie Dern outstruck Vina Jandiroba. Dern and Jandiroba, 2 fighters who, let's be real, are not very good. You don't have very good striking, and Dern got the win. But since then, Jandiroba went on to beat Kanako Maruta. She won that one by TKO as a doctor stoppage or corner stoppage after the end of the second round. It was an injury to Kanako Maruta's arm, so Jandiroba picked up the TKO win. Before that, for Jandiroba, of course, you got the loss to Dern. You got the winner of Felice Herrig by armbar. You got the rear naked choke over Mallory Martin. You got a loss to Carla Esparza in her UFC debut, and then before that, she was winning the Invictus Strawweight Championship. Jandiroba coming into this fight 17-2. Ribas is 10-2. I mean, the fight that sticks out, though, is Ribas' win over Mackenzie Dern. And was it a good version of Mackenzie Dern that Amanda Ribas did beat? It wasn't, but you look at what Vina Jandiroba brings to the plate. She's not a great striker. On the feet, Amanda Ribas will have the advantage. On the ground, of course, Jandiroba will have the pure jiu-jitsu advantage over Amanda Ribas. Don't forget how good of a jiu-jitsu game Amanda Ribas does have. And pure takedowns-wise, Vina Jandiroba is not great at shooting for takedowns. She's not. And Amanda Ribas, her offensive wrestling in her own right is pretty solid too. I mean, Jandiroba got the takedown against Felice Herrig. She took down Mallory Martin 3 times, but I mean, it's Mallory Martin. And she took down Carla Esparza, I believe, a couple times as well, but that was her first fight in the UFC. Carla Esparza is a way better version of herself now than what she was in that fight on the Jacare Hermanson card against Jandiroba. So I like Amanda Ribas to win this fight. I think on the feet, she's a better striker. I mean, obviously, if Mackenzie Dern outstruck Vina Jandiroba, I'm sure Amanda Ribas will do the same. And I know MMA math does not work like that, but Ribas beat Mackenzie Dern. She kept the fight standing when she needed to, and she also took down Mackenzie Dern as well. Obviously, you know, it's a rare feat taking down Mackenzie Dern because no one ever does it because no one wants to be on top of Mackenzie Dern. That's why Mackenzie Dern, I believe, has 100 or a 0% takedown defense because she's just willing to give up her back, or to be on her back. But Ribas, I think if she needs to, she can result to the wrestling against Jandiroba. I don't think she's going to go there, obviously. She doesn't want to be in the guard of Jandiroba. She doesn't want to be on the ground with Jandiroba. So if Vina Jandiroba cannot get Amanda Ribas to the ground, cannot take down Amanda Ribas, Ribas is going to win the fight. She's going to keep it standing. She's going to outstrike Jandiroba. And that's why I like Amanda Ribas to win a decision over Vina Jandiroba. Magomed Ankalaev versus Volkan Oezdemir will start off the main card, and I think a lot of people think that Magomed Ankalaev is just going to roll right through Volkan Oezdemir in this fight, and yeah, that could happen, but I'm going to tell you why I don't think this one is going to be as dominant of a performance as you might think. Okay, I'm not going to give away my prediction right away, but Volkan Oezdemir is still solid, and you look back at his last couple of fights. Okay, his last fight was over a year ago. It was the loss to Yuri Prohashka. Okay, gets brutally knocked down in that fight. But Oezdemir was fighting pretty well against Yuri Prohashka in that one. But, I mean, again, that's the way Prohashka always fights. He's willing to take one to give one. And Prohashka's got a great chin, and Oezdemir just couldn't put him down. Eventually, Prohashka knocked out Volkan Oezdemir in the second round. That's all right. But before that, you look at the Oezdemir fight against Alexander Rakic. And did he win the fight? Did he not? It was a split decision win. It was a close fight. Oezdemir, though, on the record, it's a split decision victory over Alexander Rakic. He wins it by split decision in Busan, South Korea on the Edgar Korean Zombie card late in 2019. Okay. Alexander Rakic goes 1 for 9 on his takedowns in that fight. Volkan Oezdemir stuffs 8 takedowns of Alexander Rakic. Rakic will end up getting 1. He has control for about 2 minutes. I believe that was in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. It was in the first round, excuse me. This first round that Rakic ended up getting that takedown. Volkan Oezdemir holds his own in the feet against Alexander Rakic. And Rakic is one of these guys in the top 5 of the weight class. I mean, say what you want about Rakic. Is he the most, entertaining fight style? Maybe he's not, but Rakic is a good striker, and Oezdemir held his own in the feet and outpointed a good fighter in Alexander Rakic. Now, the fight before that, you got Volkan Oezdemir over in Uruguay taking on Ilir Latifi. Latifi, one of these guys again, all he does is he goes for takedowns, he shoots, and he tries to put fighters on their back. Did that against Tanner Boser in his last fight. Ilir Latifi goes 1 for 5 shooting takedowns on Volkan Oezdemir in that fight. He lands 1 in the first round. He only has control for about a minute. Oezdemir gets back up and wins the fight, knocks him out in the second round. Pretty dominant performance on the feet for Volkan Oezdemir. Okay, what does Magomed Ankalaev do very well? Yes, he's got very good striking, and we will get to the striking later, but the way Magomed Ankalaev fights, though, his striking gets better because he can always have that chance for a takedown. You saw him take down Nikita Krylov 3 times. You saw him with a takedown in the win over Dalcha Lujanbula. Again, he knocked out Lujanbula with that nice kick at the end of the third round, beginning of the third round. He got a takedown against Kilson Abreu as well. I mean, Ankalaev, his game is set up through his takedowns, but his striking's so damn good as well. Now, you're not going to be taking down Magomed Ankalaev, some of the best defensive wrestling, I would say, at 205. But his striking has looked so much better in his last couple of fights. Now, he did beat Ion Cutelaba twice. The first fight on Benavides Figueiredo 1. It's that, it's the fight where Ankalaev has Ion Cutelaba rocked. Cutelaba does the whole thing where, trying to lure him in to Ankalaev shooting a stupid, or, just opening himself up to a big shot. The referee stops the fight. Was Cutelaba knocked out? Was he not? I thought maybe he wasn't, but they did it again. They rebooked that fight a million times. Eventually it happened, UFC 254, and what happened? Magomed Ankalaev knocked out Ion Cutelaba. So the takedowns were necessary in those 2 Ion Cutelaba fights because he knocked him out right away. So he didn't need it for those. Again, he beats Krylov by decision, works the takedown really well. His striking looked better in that fight as well. Krylov, of course, is a good wrestler, but hey, Ankalaev did what he needed to do. He beat a guy who fights somewhat similarly to what Ankalaev will bring sometimes, but it's a good win over Nikita Krylov. And Cutelaba, say what you want about him. It's 2 good wins for Ankalaev. The win over Marcin Prachnio, he knocks him out in the first round, and the loss against Paul Craig, it's a tough fight. Paul Craig's a good fighter. It was his first fight in the UFC. I don't put much into that. It's Ankalaev's only loss so far in his pro career. Now, if Ankalaev cannot take down Volkan Oezdemir, which is a good chance he's not going to be able to, this fight in the feet's pretty evenly matched. And yes, is Ozdemir's chin all there? I mean, I think it is. I mean, it's just, are you the same after fighting Yuri Prochazka? Maybe not, but that was over a year ago. That was July of 2020. I think Oezdemir, his striking is still pretty solid. You've seen him knock out some good guys here in Jimmy Manuwa. You saw him knock out Misha Serkinov. He knocked out Ilir Latifi as well, given his Latifi the best striker. Probably not, but Ozdemir's gonna have a puncher's chance in this one. So I wouldn't automatically say, okay, Magomed Ankalaev, no matter what, is gonna win this fight. There are opportunities for Volkan Oezdemir to win this fight. Now, will he? I don't think he will. I think Magomed Ankalaev, though, even if he can't get that takedown, I like his power on the feet. I like the kicks, the kickboxing that Ankalaev will bring to the table. We saw that nasty head kick against Dalcha Lujanbula. He set up his knockout with the head kick to Ion Cutelaba, and he knocked out Cutelaba with punches in his second fight with him. Ankalaev's such a good striker. I think, yes, Oezdemir will present some challenges to Ankalaev that Ankalaev hasn't seen yet in the UFC on the feet, because Volkan Oezdemir, again, a guy who has fought for the title before. He's a good fighter. He's been a guy who's been in the top 10 for a very long time, but I think Ankalaev should be able to get the win. Again, you look back at some of Ozdemir's fights, he got taken out a couple times by Anthony Smith. DC, of course, took him down, but I mean, that's what Daniel Cormier is going to do to you. Rakic took him down, but again, it took him 9 tries, and of course, the Yuri Prochazka fight was a kickboxing fight, mostly just a boxing fight. So, again, Ozdemir's got a shot, but I'm going to go with Magomed Ankalaev to get the win. I think the takedowns will be there. If he can't get the takedown, perfect. If he can't, I still like Ankalaev striking against Volkan Oezdemir, who hasn't looked great, let's say, in his last couple of fights. Again, I know he beat Rakic, but he did not look good in the Yuri Prochazka fight. But, again, I think Yuri Prochazka will be a world champion in about a year's time. So, maybe a spoiler alert for the main event. I don't know, but I think Yuri Prochazka will be a world champion very soon. So we're gonna go with Magomed Ankalaev, though. I think he gets the win over Volkan Oezdemir. I think he's gonna get him out of there early. I'm gonna go second round KO for Magomed Ankalaev, be it on the ground with strikes or even on the feet. Somehow, some way, I think Ankalaev will score a TKO victory. The return of Khamzat Chimaev, but he's taken on a very talented fighter here in the Leech in Li Jingliang. And for Khamzat Chimaev's last fight was that win over Gerald Meerschaert late in 2020, knocking out Meerschaert in the first round. He won that 3-fight run. He signs with the promotion in July. He knocks out John Phillips, he beats up John Phillips from the ground. Eventually, the referee doesn't stop the fight, so he just gets the Darce choke. He finishes him. He finishes Rhys McKee in the first round, giving both those guys no longer in the UFC. But then after that, he picks up a huge win over Gerald Meerschaert, who Meerschaert not really washed up. He's come back, and Meerschaert has picked up a couple wins as of late, picking up wins over Bartosz Fabinski and Mahmoud Muradov. I mean, hell, Meerschaert's back, but he's got a very tough fight coming up, I do believe, in December as well. Another up-and-coming fighter. But Khamzat Chimaev has looked so good in those 3 fights. You know what Chimaev brings. A lot of power on the feet, and his takedown and his takedowns are great, his grappling is great. And the John Phillips fight, gets a takedown and absolutely mauls him on the ground. The same can be said about Rhys McKee. Now, Rhys McKee, again, took that fight on like 5 days' notice, and Chimaev did what he needed to do. But the fight that's so impressive is Gerald Meerschaert, because it showed, hey, this guy's striking is very good too. And that was kind of the question for Chimaev, because, you know, you saw his takedowns in the Phillips and the Rhys McKee fight. You saw how good this guy is getting fights to the ground, and you go up against Meerschaert, he knocks him out. Now, is Meerschaert the best striker? He's not, but it still shows Chimaev has the power to knock out anyone. Now, Li Jingliang is very underrated. And at first, when I saw this fight announcement, I didn't like it, because Chimaev had all those troubles with COVID. He was supposed to fight Leon Edwards 3 times. The fight never happened. And Jingliang's a guy who's coming off the win over Santiago Ponzinibbio, where, I'll be honest, I didn't really give him too much of a shot on that one. I thought Ponzinibbio was going to beat him. Li Jingliang knocks out Santiago Ponzinibbio in the first round, and it's not like Ponzinibbio's washed up as well. Ponzinibbio just picked up a huge win over Miguel Baeza in the summer, so Ponzinibbio's good. Li Jingliang goes in there, he knocks out Santiago Ponzinibbio. Now, Ponzinibbio hasn't been active for a while before that fight. It was his first fight in 3 years, but Ponzinibbio is one of those guys who's on a big winning streak, it's like 8-fight winning streak going into the Jingliang fight, and Jingliang puts him out. So if Jingliang's standing with Khamzat Chimaev, he's got a good chance to win this one. He avoids the power shots, you know, his striking is crisp. Jingliang's a good striker, so a pure kickboxing fight, Li Jingliang's got a definite chance. Again, if he avoids the power that Khamzat Chimaev will throw. The problem is Khamzat Chimaev's immediately going to shoot for a takedown in this one. I don't think he's going to worry much about the striking of Li Jingliang, considering he can just shoot for the takedown immediately. Li Jingliang, when he beats Ponzinibbio and knocks him out in the first round, no grappling involved in that fight. The Neil Magny fight's concerning. Neil Magny absolutely drowns out Li Jingliang in that fight. UFC 248, Adesanya versus Romero. Neil Magny, 4 takedowns in that one. Takes down Li Jingliang, controls him on the ground for over 5 minutes in the octagon. Now, Li Jingliang does have his moments with the wrestling as well. He ended 2 of his own, but Magny outstrikes him. Magny outworks him on the ground. He wins every single round of that fight. It was a big win for Neil Magny. And if Neil Magny's doing that to you, what is Khamzat Chimaev going to do to you? The other fight I want to go to, Li Jingliang versus Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews picks up the win. It's on UFC 221, Romero versus Rockhold over, I believe it was Australia. Jake Matthews wins the fight. He lands 2 takedowns, 4 minutes of control in that fight. He outstrikes Li Jingliang in that one, knocks him down 2 times as well. And Matthews really incorporated the wrestling really well. And eventually when that fight got back to the feet, worked his striking very well as well. He scored 2 30-26s in that one for Jake Matthews. Very impressive performance for Matthews. Basically only worked the head in that one, and it worked. So Li Jingliang lost that one by unanimous decision, but still, Jingliang has big wins over Zaleski. Santos knocked him out in the 3rd round. He's got a win over David Zawada, where he worked the body perfectly in that one. He's got a win over Frank Camacho by decision. Zach Otto by a 1st-round KO as well. So, again, the pathway to victory is simple for this one, for Li Jingliang. You gotta avoid the ground game with Khamzat Chimaev. You gotta stuff a couple of takedowns from Khamzat Chimaev. That's going to be tough. That is a tall order for Li Jingliang, but again, I wasn't too excited about this fight for Khamzat Chimaev when it was announced. Why? Because Khamzat Chimaev was supposed to fight Leon Edwards. Now, would he have beat Leon Edwards? I don't know, but this is a guy in Chimaev, again, who hasn't fought in over a year. He's been dealing with all these COVID issues. He said he retired at one point. And you're going back, you're taking on a fighter in Li Jingliang who, let's be real, in, you know, the grand scheme of things and in the casuals mindset, not many people know who Li Jingliang is, but Li Jingliang is a top 15 fighter. He's number 11 in the rankings. He's a good fighter, and it just feels like it's high risk, low reward for Chimaev. And that's nothing against Li Jingliang, but for Khamzat Chimaev, if he loses this fight, let's be real, no one really knows who Li Jingliang is. Like, if you're not an MMA fan, you know who Li Jingliang is. If he loses this fight, that's huge, because, again, he lost to Jingliang, who's a top 10 fighter, but still, Chimaev, he could have fought, you know, like a Robbie Lawler, he could have fought one of those guys, you know, one of those guys, the bigger names, and it would have been a lot easier of a fight for him. That all being said, though, Khamzat Chimaev should be able to land a takedown against Li Jingliang, and he should be able to absolutely maul him on the ground. Unless Chimaev gets caught with a big punch from Li Jingliang early, or if Jingliang stuffs every single takedown from Khamzat Chimaev, That's the only way Jingliang wins the fight. I don't think it's going to happen. Chimaev is going to come in there, constant takedowns, constant pressure. He's going to take down Jingliang, and I think he's going to finish him in the second round. In the first round, he's going to really work positioning. Second round, eventually he'll get the finish. I'm going to go second round TKO victory for Chimaev. Coming back to the UFC, he'll be 4-0. Get this man in the top 10. Chimaev with the win. Turning it to 10-0. I mean, I love this fight at 265. It's tremendous. Marcin Tybura taking on Alexander Volkov. However, though, this fight's pretty easy to break down. I mean, it kind of is. Do you think Marcin Tybura can take down Alexander Volkov? That's it. Because if Tybura can't get the takedown against Volkov, I don't think he's going to be able to outstrike him. Yeah, like, sure, Tybura did it against Ben Rothwell. He outstruck Ben Rothwell and won a fight by unanimous decision. He outstruck Greg Hardy. But if you don't land the takedown against Alexander Volkov, Volkov's going to beat Marcin Tybura on the feet. I don't care, how Volkov's looked in his last couple of fights, given he just lost to Cyril Gane, who Gane, I think, is one of the best fighters in the world. I think that guy's tremendous. I think Francis Ngannou is going to have a lot of problems with Cyril Gane in January. We'll get to that fight when we get to January, but Volkov still looked good in the Walt Harris fight. He looked good in the Alistair Overeem fight. And for Tybura, yeah, he's on a run, and he's been looking pretty good. I mean, he got the win most recently over Walt Harris. Now, don't forget, Walt Harris was absolutely beating up Marcin Tybura on the feet for the first, again, like 3 minutes. Tybura lands a takedown, and Walt Harris, used all of his energy trying to finish Marcin Tybura in the first 3 minutes. Tybura gets him down, works his ground and pound, and finishes Walt Harris. It's a good one. Same can be said about Greg Hardy. Again, works his striking pretty well, gets him in the ground, absolutely mauls him on the ground. TKO finish for Marcin Tybura. The Ben Rothwell fight, you saw the stand-up came out of Marcin Tybura. It was pretty damn good. The Grecian fight was what I used to call back then in July of last year. I called the classic Marcin Tybura fight. Work the clinch, work the takedowns. Kind of a boring unanimous decision win. It was, but since the Maxime Grecian fight, Tybura's turned around. And this guy, man, Marcin Tybura has been putting on some incredible performances. He's been going for it. His stand-up game has looked improved, given he was losing on the feet against Walt Harris, and that's concerning against Volkov. Now, Tybura's striking has improved. I think it's a lot better. I think this guy is a top 10 heavyweight, which is kind of crazy saying Marcin Tybura's a top 10 heavyweight. I think he is. I really think he is. I mean, big winning streak, Spivak, Grecian, Rothwell, Hardy, Harris. Those are some big wins. Don't get me wrong. He's got losses to like Verdum, Lewis, Chimaev, Duraev, and Augusto Sakai, but that's all right. Those are some good fighters. Tybura's looks so improved. But if you can't take down if you can't take down Alexander Volkov, I don't think he wins. Volkov's striking is that good. Now, he lost to Cyril Gane, but Alexander Volkov held his own in that Gane fight. Yeah, yes, Gane outstruck him in every single round, but Volkov hit Gane a lot in that fight, and Gane just ate a lot of shots. I mean, it's that simple. Volkov busted the nose straight open of Alistair Overeem in their fight in February, knocked him out in the second round. He beats Walt Harris with a tremendous kick to the body. I mean, that was picture perfect. The Curtis Blades fight, he gets taken down 14 times in that fight, which, again, concerning. He gets, Blades works a takedown really well in that fight. Volkov wins the later rounds in that one. And if Marcin Tybura follows the same game plan of Curtis Blades and he's actually able to land the takedown, okay, Marcin Tybura is going to win the fight. But if Volkov can stuff the takedowns, I think he's going to win. I mean, it's that simple. Can Alexander Volkov stuff a takedown to Marcin Tybura? If he can, he will win the fight. He'll probably finish Marcin Tybura. If he can't, I think Tybura is going to win a decision, because I think Tybura will take down Volkov, and he will repeatedly do that over 3 rounds. We haven't really seen Volkov in too much danger on the ground, except for that Blades fight. He got taken down by Fabricio Verdum, but he eventually finished Verdum in the 4th round. I think he got taken down by Roy Nelson, I think he might have. But, I mean, Volkov ended up winning that fight. It was a pretty dominant performance for Volkov back in 2017. And Tim Johnson, I believe, took him down too. But, hey, Tim Johnson just got knocked out by Fedor Emelianenko. Get Fedor that fight with Bader again. Let's see it. But, I think Alexander Volkov should beat Marcin Tybura, and I think he will beat him. I don't want to bank on Marcin Tybura having to get a takedown against Alexander Volkov, which, again, that's pretty much every Marcin Tybura fight. Again, his striking has looked so improved, but Alexander Volkov, with the exception of the Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis fights, he's won every single striking encounter he has been in the UFC. And Cyril Gane's the #1 contender, and Derek Lewis is number 3. Okay, and oh, by the way, Volkov was out striking Derek Lewis for 14.5 minutes before getting knocked out. Alexander Volkov's going to beat Marcin Tybura, and I like him to finish Tybura as well. I think he can work the body really well in this one. Obviously, Drago's reach is tremendous. I mean, what is it? Drago's got 80-inch reach for Tybura. He's got 78, so still, I mean, it's going to be competitive, but Volkov, again, going to keep his distance. I've seen Tybura he's been knocked out 4 times. Chimaev, Sakai, Lewis, and one other one for the UFC and M1. I believe it was for the M1 Heavyweight Championship. But, yeah, I like Volkov to beat Marcin Tybura. I think he'll finish him. I'm going to go Volkov, second round TKO, another second round TKO. Why not? I think he'll get the win. Alexander Volkov getting back in the winning ways. I don't know. I mean, still 32. Volkov's younger than you think, but getting his, I believe, yeah, his 34th win in his pro career. And boy, do we have a fight. Islam Makhachev taking on Dan Hooker. Hooker's a straight savage for taking this fight. His last fight was the last pay-per-view, UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega, and he beats Nasrat Haqparast. And it's a fight you want to see out of Dan Hooker, because he's coming off those 2 losses to Poirier and Chandler. Okay, that's fine. He beats Nasrat Haqparast, and what does he do? He out-wrestles him so damn well in that 3rd round. He outstrikes Haqparast as well, and that was the game plan that Hooker needs to have in this Makhachev fight. Now, I don't think he's gonna be shooting takedowns in this Makhachev, but he's got to have his wrestling on. His wrestling's got to be perfect in this fight. Dan Hooker, 80% takedown defense in the UFC. It's got to be perfect in this fight. It has to be, because you know what Islam Makhachev's gonna do. Makhachev's going to try to take down Dan Hooker. I feel like all of these fights are kind of similar in how to break down, but it's simple. Makhachev's going to try to take down Dan Hooker. Hooker's going to try to stuff him, and Hooker's going to try to keep this fight standing. Okay, I mean, it's that simple. Makhachev in his last fight beats Thiago Moises. He mauled him. I mean, was it all that competitive? Kind of wasn't. He submits Moises in the 4th round by a rear naked choke. All right, before that, he submits Drew Dober. That was an absolute mauling as well. Makhachev constantly going for those takedowns, submitting him with an arm triangle in the 3rd round. He beat Davy Ramos before that. Davy Ramos didn't do anything. Makhachev showed his striking in that fight. Looked very good. He beat Arman Tsarukyan in a close fight. Got the takedowns. I mean, it was closer than other Makhachev fights. Again, I think he won all 3 rounds, and one judge maybe gave one to Tsarukyan. But again, I've spoke very highly of Arman Tsarukyan. I think that guy's going to be in the top 5 eventually. I've said it. I think Makhachev and Tsarukyan someday might be fighting for a world championship. Maybe 5 years down the line, that might be a world championship fight. But Islam Makhachev beats Arman Tsarukyan, and he just picks up so many damn wins. He beats Clemson Tebow, he beats Nick Lentz. He has that one loss where he gets knocked down in a minute. I mean, disregard that fight. It was back in 2015. I don't put much into that one. And Dan Hooker's wrestling, on the other hand, is very good. He took down Dustin Poirier 4 times in their fight. One of the fights of the year. Given Poirier sometimes went to the neck, he went for the guillotine instead of defending the takedown. Ended up giving his back. Dan Hooker in the 5th round against Paul Felder won the fight by securing a takedown in the 5th. His wrestling looked good in the Mark DeCasey fight as well, and his striking, hey, he knocks out Gilbert Burns. I know he got knocked out by Edson Barbosa, but Barbosa is a savage on the feet. He knocks out James Vick. I mean, Hooker's striking is good. Same can be said about the Raging Out fight. Knocks down Alamir fight, UFC 243. Hooker, the game plan is simple. You keep the fight standing against Islam Makhachev, you win the fight. Most likely, Makhachev striking isn't all that great, but I mean, hey, Khabib's striking wasn't all that great, and Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest of all time. Can Islam Makhachev take down Dan Hooker? Yeah, he probably can. And at the end of the day, that's really the story. I mean, it sucks, but that's the story. Can Makhachev take down Dan Hooker in this fight? I think he will. Can Hooker get up? Possibly, but I think Makhachev's going to be constant pressure on the feet, constant pressure on the ground. He's eventually going to go back for that takedown, and I think Islam Makhachev's going to beat Dan Hooker. And it pains me to say I like Dan Hooker, but Islam Makhachev's that good. And again, credit to Dan Hooker for taking this fight, but Makhachev, the pace, the style on the ground, I just think it's going to be too much for Hooker. I think Hooker is going to be able to stay in there, though. I don't think he's going to get finished by Makhachev. I don't think he's going to be. I think Makhachev's going to try to go for some submissions, but I think Hooker's going to be able to get out of it. I think Poirier attempted like 5 submissions on Hooker, didn't get the finish, so I don't think Makhachev's going to be able to finish Dan, but I think it's going to be an overwhelming style on the ground for Islam Makhachev, and he's going to drown out Dan Hooker's offense. And I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev to beat Dan Hooker, winning this fight by unanimous decision. Only world title fights from here on out in the co-main event. Petr Yan taking on Corey Sandhagen for the interim bantamweight championship. Obviously, the champion is now Aljamain Sterling. Yan need him in the face in the 4th round. I will talk about this fight right now. Okay, Sterling and Yan. I picked Aljamain Sterling to beat Petr Yan. I thought he was going to submit him in the 1st round. I thought it was going to be similar to what the Corey Sandhagen Aljamain Sterling fight was going to be. Okay, I had it 2-2 going into the 5th. Now, was Yan going to win the 5th round? I know the fight didn't actually get into the 5th round. It's 30 seconds until getting to the 5th round, but we knew Yan was going to win that 4th round. Okay, I had it 2-2 going into the 5th. Was Yan going to win that 5th round? He definitely was. Okay, Petr Yan was going to win that fight 3 rounds to 2. Sure. In my opinion, I think a lot of people would have had it 4-1 for Petr Yan. Aljamain Sterling gassed in that fight. I mean, I think we all know what happened. He won the first. I thought he won the 1st round. His striking looked solid. I know he got dropped by Yan, but eventually in that 3rd and 4th and 5th, eventually 5th round, he got taken down a bunch of times by Yan, and that was the game plan for Sterling. Was okay, he's going to take down Yan. He's going to be the aggressor. He's going to be pushing the pace on the ground. Didn't go his way, but Yan, showed in that fight that he can beat down rounds because say what you want about Aljamain Sterling. Say what you want about, you know, the Oscar performance. Was he faking the injury? Was he not? Because I know Aljamain Sterling has become basically a joke now in the MMA community. That's all right. The guy's a world champion, but that's okay. Aljamain Sterling won rounds against Petr Yan. Aljamain Sterling is a good fighter. And Yan showed in that fight he can be down rounds and he can come back. He can, you know, he doesn't have to win every single round of a fight. He can come back in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and win the fight that way. That's what he was going to do against Aljamain Sterling. But Sterling's a good fighter, and I don't think that Petr Yan should have been like, what, minus 450 or whatever he was against Sterling when that fight was supposed to happen on this card. But Corey Sandhagen is a tougher fight, I think, for Petr Yan. I think he is. Because Sandhagen's striking is a lot better than Aljamain Sterling's striking is. It is. Let's be honest. His striking is better than Aljamain Sterling's striking. Sterling presents a different challenge than what Corey Sandhagen's going to do. Sterling primarily grappling. Again, if he has to strike with Yan, maybe he wins some rounds, but he probably won't win a fight just purely striking with Petr Yan. Sandhagen's striking is very good. And you look at the TJ Dillashaw fight, he fought really well in the TJ Dillashaw fight. He maybe lost. I scored it for TJ Dillashaw, and I picked Corey Sandhagen to win the fight. I thought Dillashaw won. A lot of people thought Corey won. Again, I was one of those guys who picked Corey Sandhagen. I still thought he lost the fight. Okay. He beats Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar, I mean, I like Frankie Edgar, but oh my goodness, Sandhagen knocked him out in 28 seconds. I'll be the first to say it. I picked Frankie Edgar to win the fight. I thought Edgar was going to be able to take down Corey Sandhagen because coming off that fight against Aljamain Sterling, which he got taken, or Sterling just took his back in 90 seconds. I picked Sterling to beat Corey Sandhagen as well. I thought Sandhagen was going to beat Marlon Moraes. I didn't like what I saw out of Moraes in the Jose Aldo fight, so I thought Sandhagen was going to be able to get the win. And he beat Marlon Moraes. That was all cool, but you look at the Aljo fight, he gets taken down immediately, or Aljo, you know, works the clinch really well. He went backpack for a reason. Is Petr Yan going to immediately shoot for a takedown against Corey Sandhagen? I don't think he's going to, because Sandhagen isn't horrible off his back. I mean, he's really not. He's got 3 submissions to his name. Sandhagen's got a really nice armbar that he can go to, where he submitted Mario Bautista with in that card in Brooklyn back in 2019 that I'm sure they're going to show on the broadcast, that he does have submissions off his back and Sandhagen can work on the ground, which is true. But I don't really see Yan shooting for a takedown on this one. I know he took down Aljo 7 times in their fight. He took down Aldo to eventually win the fight in the 5th round. He took down Uriah Faber a couple times. Took down Jimmy Rivera. Took down John Dodson. Took down Douglas Silva de Andrade. I don't know if he's necessarily going to have to do this because I think Yan thinks he's going to be able to outstrike Corey Sandhagen. And I think Sandhagen thinks he's going to be able to outstrike Yan. So I think we're going to get a kickboxing fight in this one. Yan's striking is good. I mean, no one's taking that away from him. You know, the way he beat Uriah Faber was nasty. He knocked him out with a brutal head kick that was supposed to be a knee. Eventually switched it to a head kick mid-kick or mid-knee. Finished Faber. The Aldo fight, he was out striking Aldo in that one. Eventually, again, got the takedown, punished him on the ground. I forget who the referee was in that fight. Did a terrible job. That fight should have been stopped 3 minutes before it actually was, but he beats Aldo. He beats Jimmy Rivera, beats John Dodson. More of the same stuff. I know he got knocked down really quickly by John Dodson in their fight, but he ended up winning it. Still was pretty dominant. Dodson landed a really nice overhand right. Yan got right back up. Whatever. Corey Sandhagen to win this fight, though, I don't think he can outpoint Petr Yan. I don't think he's going to be able to. We saw Aljamain Sterling try to do that. What happened? He was going to eventually lose that fight 3 rounds to or get finished in the 5th round. Corey Sandhagen's got to try to finish Yan quickly. I think Corey Sandhagen's got 2 rounds to win this fight against Petr Yan. Because everyone looks back at the Yan Sterling fight was, you know, how good Petr Yan was. He was good in that fight, but don't forget the first 2 rounds. Again, I thought Sterling outstruck him. And again, a championship game plan, you're thinking, okay, Yan can lose those first 3 rounds, he can win the last 3. And again, that's what he was going to do. But it opens up the pathway to victory for Corey Sandhagen to finish Petr Yan very early in this fight. And the game plan is simple for Sandhagen. He's going to come in there. I think he's got 2 rounds to win this fight. If he can't win it in the first 2, I think Yan's really he's gonna outwork him on the feet for the last 3 rounds. Similar to what Dillashaw did. Dillashaw winning that fight later in the fight. And, you know, it was a good fight with Dillashaw and Sandhagen, but Dillashaw, again, I thought barely won that one. So, it's a tough fight to pick. Again, I think it's the first time ever it's a UFC title fight where it's 2 fighters coming off a loss in a championship fight. Again, Yan lost by DQ and Sandhagen lost a fight that a lot of people thought he won, but it's 2 fighters coming off an L, trying to win a world championship for Yan, trying to get that rematch against Sterling for Sandhagen, trying to get that rematch against Sterling as well, as he was subbed in 2020 in about 90 seconds. Man, this is a closer fight than a lot of people are giving it. I think a lot of people think Yan's just going to run right through Sandhagen. And you know what? I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen to win. I'm picking the upset in this one. I know Yan is very good. And I know Petr Yan's a tremendous striker. And if he has to go to his grappling, he's great there too. But if I picked Aljamain Sterling to beat Petr Yan, I'm going to pick Corey Sandhagen too. I just think the striking from Sandhagen early in the fight is going to give Petr Yan a lot of trouble. And yes, has Yan ever been finished? No, he hasn't. He's only lost twice, once to Magomed Magomedov, all the way back in 2016. But I think there are so many opportunities for Sandhagen to win this fight early. It's going to be the flashy style from Sandhagen. It's going to be the power shots. It's going to be those spinning wheel kicks. It's going to be those flying knees that we've seen him get finishes with in the past. And I think you're going to see another Sports Center top 10 knockout out of Corey Sandhagen early in the fight against Petr Yan. He's going to catch him. He's going to knock him out. Oh my, I'm going Corey Sandhagen to knock out Petr Yan in the first round with something flashy. If that doesn't happen, Petr Yan's gonna win by decision. You heard it here first, okay? Sandhagen either wins in the first or second round. If that doesn't happen, if this fight gets past the second round, live betting on Petr Yan is gonna be crazy because he's gonna win the fight. So I'm going Sandhagen. I think he gets a flash knockout or really just spectacular knockout in those first 2 rounds. I'm gonna go officially first round. Again, if it doesn't happen, Yan's gonna become the champion. But we're going Corey Sandhagen to get the upset, first round KO victory, and new UFC interim bantamweight champion. It is time for the main event of the evening for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. The champion, the Polish Hammer, Jan Blachowicz, taking on the Brazilian by way of Connecticut, Glover Teixeira. Here we go, man. Glover Teixeira at 41 years old, potentially probably his last fight ever in his pro career, taking on the 38-year-old champ in Jan Blachowicz. Here we go, man. Jan Blachowicz in his last fight beat Israel Adesanya. Now, I picked against him in that one. I thought Adesanya was going to outstrike him. I thought Adesanya was eventually going to finish Jan Blachowicz in that fight. Did it happen? No. But, you know, Blachowicz did very well in that fight. Jan Blachowicz looked great in the fight against Israel Adesanya. He looked good. Again, he outstruck Izzy. He worked the takedowns really well in that one in those 4th and 5th rounds. And, I mean, Joe Rogan and DC were, you know, adamant about the fact that Izzy's winning on the feet. He wasn't. Blachowicz was outstriking Israel Adesanya in that fight. I thought he had it 4-1, and the takedowns was the icing on the top for Jan Blachowicz defeating Israel Adesanya. And before that, he beats Dominic Reyes. Okay, I picked Dominic Reyes to win that fight too. I mean, I thought Reyes, you know, looked good in the John Jones fight. Blachowicz knocks him out in the 2nd round. Blachowicz worked the body perfectly. The body kicks were tremendous by Jan Blachowicz. Just maybe his best performance to date. Before that's the Corey Sandhagen. No, Corey Sandhagen. I'm hoping Jan Blachowicz isn't fighting Corey Sandhagen. Blachowicz and Corey Anderson. He knocks out Corey Anderson in the 1st round. And Corey Anderson's a tremendous fighter. I mean, what has Corey Anderson done since that fight? He's gone to Bellator. He won against Duvalzon Yagshir-Miradov in the 1st round of the Grand Prix. I know Yagshir-Miradov lost his last fight in Bellator, but still. He comes in, he knocks out Ryan Bader in 50 seconds in the last fight in Phoenix in the semifinals for Bellator. So Anderson's got a date with Vadim Nemkov. I think he's got a very good chance to win that fight. And Anderson's a great fighter. Blachowicz knocks him out stiff in 3 minutes. And I don't always make videos at the time about UFC, but I picked Corey Anderson to win that fight. I thought Corey Anderson was going to beat Jan Blachowicz. When Jan Blachowicz fought Jacare Souza, he beats him by split decision. Maybe one of the worst main events of all time. It's so boring. Souza didn't do anything in that fight. Jan outstrikes him, and I hate to say it, I picked Jacare Souza to win that fight as well. Okay, when Jan Blachowicz fought Luke Rockhold, more the same. He knocks out Luke Rockhold in the 2nd round, and I picked Luke Rockhold to win that fight too. I thought Rockhold was going to win. I thought Thiago Santos was going to be Jan Blachowicz as well, and okay, he did. Santos knocked out Jan Blachowicz, but that's been my history picking Jan Blachowicz fights. Since 2019, I've only picked the guy. Oh wait, I've never picked the guy. Like, it's crazy to me, but like, I think back to when I was actually watching these fights. Yeah, I thought Santos was going to beat him. I thought Rockhold was going to beat him. I thought Souza was going to beat him. I thought Corey Anderson was going to beat him. On video and on record, I've said that I thought Reyes and Adesanya were going to beat him. Both didn't happen. Jan Blachowicz has proven me wrong so many times. It was the most unlikely title run maybe ever. And look at him now. He's got a winner of Adesanya, who's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Jan Blachowicz is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters now in the world. The Dominic Reyes fight was tremendous. The Corey Anderson fight, great. The Polish power is just on top right now. Now, Glover Teixeira, though. I mean, what a way back for Glover Teixeira this has been since losing the John Jones fight. Glover Teixeira loses to John Jones. He comes in the UFC, loses to John Jones all the way back. UFC 172, loses by unanimous decision. In that fight, Teixeira's looking for one thing and one thing only. He's looking for that big power shot to knock out John Jones. Basically, he's just throwing overhand rights over overhand rights over overhand rights throughout that entire fight. Jones does what he needs to do, keeps the fight up close, works elbows really well. Jones uses his takedowns effectively, wins unanimous decision 50-45, no doubt about that one. Teixeira, after that, takes a fight against Phil Davis. He loses the fight to Phil Davis because Phil Davis lands 9 takedowns on Glover Teixeira in that fight. Teixeira could not get his jiu-jitsu going in that one. Davis just overwhelms him on the ground, and it's a very impressive performance, for Mr. Wonderful. Teixeira, after that, beats over in St. Preux, works the grappling really well in that one, beats OSB. He beats Patrick Cummings by TKO. He beats Rashad Evans in a fight that only lasted 1 minute, and he's working his way back up to the championship. He gets a #1 contenders fight against Anthony Rumble Johnson, and he gets knocked down 10 seconds. Rumble, of course, then goes on to fight DC. Of course, that doesn't work out too well for Rumble Johnson, but you're thinking of that at that point, okay, Glover Teixeira's not ever making his way back up to the championship. It's just not going to happen, right? I mean, he beats Jared Cannonier after that. He gets knocked out by Gustafsson in Sweden. It's a great fight, but he loses in the 5th round. Okay, that's probably the end for Glover Teixeira. Oh, wait, he takes a fight against Serkinov. Okay, he beats Serkinov. He fights Corey Anderson, he loses. Okay, it's in 2018. You're thinking, all right, Corey Anderson's a good fighter. He's trying to be on that, next name that John Jones is going to beat. That's probably it for Teixeira. No, he beats Carl Roberson. He submits him. He submits Ion Kutelaba. He beats Nikita Kirillov. He beats Anthony Smith in a fight where I thought Anthony Smith was going to win. I'll be 100 with you. I thought Smith was going to win. No, absolutely dominant performance by Glover Teixeira. His boxing was so good in that one. He avoided the power shots Anthony Smith did give him. Anthony Smith looked good in that fight in the first 2 rounds. And eventually Teixeira took over that fight, but Smith's power shots were great early in the fight. Teixeira avoided them, worked his boxing tremendously in that one, ended up winning by 5th round TKO. And then the Thiago Santos fight, picked that one perfectly. Thiago Santos knocks down Glover Teixeira. Early in that fight, Teixeira gets back up, eats so many bombs from Thiago Santos, eventually takes him down. Ground pound to a rear naked choke, a victory for Glover Teixeira. Lands 4 takedowns in that fight against Thiago Santos. Glover Teixeira's chin somehow has gotten better over his career. I don't know how this has happened, but since he lost twice by knockout to Anthony Johnson, which was a brutal knockout, and when he got knocked out by Alexander Gustafsson, he's put up with so many big shots from Kutelaba, so many shots from Anthony Smith, so many shots by Roberson, even though it was only 1 round, but still he stood in there, and by Thiago Santos, was one of the most powerful punchers at 205. Jan Blachowicz, though, his power is better than anyone else at 205 except for Yuri Prochazka, who is the alternate for this fight. If Prochazka somehow steps in, I will make a separate video on Prochazka versus Blachowicz or Teixeira. I don't think it's going to be happening, though. I believe Blachowicz and Teixeira, both those guys don't have any troubles missing weight. It would just be down to COVID, and I hope COVID does not interfere in this fight. So, this fight should be happening. Jan Blachowicz, though, his power is a lot better than a lot of these guys on the list. Now, Thiago Santos may be one of the guys who can rival Jan Blachowicz in the department of power at 205. Sure, that is possible. But I don't know if Glover Teixeira has seen a power puncher like Jan Blachowicz since when he fought Anthony Rumble Johnson. That's how good of a striker Jan Blachowicz is, and that's how good of how good power that Blachowicz does have. And it's not like Blachowicz is just a power fighter, just like he's just an Anthony Johnson where he's going to come out there, throw big overhand rights and try to finish the fight. No, Blachowicz is such a technical striker as well. He works the body so well. Punches to the body, kicks to the body, like in the Israel Adesanya fight, kicked out the legs of Izzy as well. That was just such a perfect performance for Jan Blachowicz over the middleweight champion. So, Glover Teixeira's pathway to victory for this one is simple. You have to take down Jan Blachowicz, because I think Teixeira will be able to, I think his boxing, he should be able to stay in there with Blachowicz 4 times in this fight. And he should be able to stay in there with Jan Blachowicz to the point where eventually he will land that takedown, and eventually where he will take down Jan Blachowicz if Glover Teixeira is going to win this fight. So, Teixeira's boxing is always going to be there. It's just, can Teixeira stay relatively competitive with Jan Blachowicz on the feet to the point where he can close the distance and look for a takedown and put down Jan Blachowicz and eventually work for his back or work for, submission on top? That's the question you got to ask. Because I know Jan Blachowicz' striking is always going to be there. And if this is a pure striking fight for 5 rounds, I think Glover Teixeira will have his moments, but I just don't think he can outstrike Jan Blachowicz. Because Teixeira's striking is good, but Blachowicz's is better. On the ground, Teixeira's got better wrestling than Jan Blachowicz. I think he does, even though Blachowicz has not been taken down. Rockhold couldn't do it when he fought him. Even though Rockhold went 0 for 5 shooting takedowns against Jan Blachowicz. You saw Blachowicz land takedowns out of Adesanya. You saw him land takedowns against Jared Cannonier. The last guy to take down Blachowicz was Nikita Kirillov. And, Kirillov had maybe top positioning for like a minute in that fight. So, it's a challenging fight for Glover Teixeira. But ever since this fight was announced, I said, you know what? I'm going to take Glover Teixeira. And I'm going to stick by it. I'm picking against Jan Blachowicz. I'm picking against the man for, the 7th time in a row. I hate doing it because I actually like Jan Blachowicz. I like Jan. but I'm taking Glover Teixeira to beat Jan Blachowicz. I think he's going to avoid those big shots that Blachowicz will throw. I think it's going to be very similar to the Thiago Santos fight. I think Blachowicz is going to knock down Glover Teixeira in this first round. I think he's going to. I think Teixeira stays in the fight, second round stays in it, third round stays in it, and in the fourth round, after landing a takedown in the third, I think Glover Teixeira is going to submit Jan Blachowicz, fourth round, submission, become the world champion. Yeah, I said it. I think Glover Teixeira is going to win by submission. I think eventually, Glover Teixeira is one of those guys in the ground. He's on that Brian Ortega level, like in the Volkanovski fight, where if you're on the ground with this guy for 30 seconds, he might be able to finish you. I think Jan Blachowicz is going to get stuck in a submission, kind of like how Volkanovski did against Ortega. And unlike Brian Ortega, Glover Teixeira is going to finish the job. So I'm going Glover Teixeira to submit Jan Blachowicz in the fourth round. He picks up the win, and he becomes world champion at the age of 41 in his last fight in the UFC. And no matter what happens in this fight, the next fight for the world championship is Jan Blachowicz versus Yuri Prochazka. I mean, that's next. Because even if Blachowicz loses, he should be getting the next championship fight. So Yuri versus Jan should be next no matter what. If, of course, Blachowicz wins, then you do Yuri and Blachowicz for the world title. Rakic, go fight Anthony Smith. Okay. I'm going Glover Teixeira, though. Fourth round submission and new world champion. I think the wrestling eventually for Teixeira is going to work. Eventually, he's going to work the clinch. He'll eventually get the fight to the ground, and he becomes the new champion by submitting Jan Blachowicz in the fourth round, winning the title after his first attempt almost 8 years ago. So Glover Teixeira and new UFC light heavyweight champion. And folks, thank y'all for watching this UFC 267 preview and predictions here on the channel. It only gets better from here on out, because next week, UFC 268, Madison Square Garden, the UFC is returning to New York City. The main event, the rematch of one of the greatest fights of all time, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. They are doing it again. In the co-main event, Zhang Weili, Rose Namajunas. I'll keep it real with you, I'm not too excited for that one. But still, it should be a fun fight. I just think Carlos Marza should be getting that fight. And then, I mean, maybe the best fight of the night. I don't know, the main event's pretty good, but oh my goodness. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, someone's getting a title shot with a win in that fight. Who's going to become the number one contender? We will find out. So many good fights in that card. Also, you've got a tremendous fight. Bobby Green, Ally Quinta. No one's talking about that one. You've got the debut of Alex Pereira, the only man to finish Israel Adesanya ever, really, in Adesanya's career. You've got so many good fights in that one. Jan Volante's back. I mean, maybe we're excited for that. Maybe we're not. Frankie Edgar returns against Marlon Chito Vera, Edmund Shabazi, Nasruddin Imavov. You've got Shane Burgos, Billy Quarantillo. I mean, such a good card. I will break down that entire card next week. UFC 268, you're not going to want to miss it. Usman Covington for the second time. Again, folks, thank y'all for watching this UFC 267 preview and predictions. If you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.